Good morning, everybody. Hey, it's Jenny of the Jenny Evolution, as well as the Sensory Spectrum. I'm thrilled you're joining me this morning. Today we are going to be talking about a summer topic that drives a lot of us parents absolutely crazy. It's when our kids hate sunscreen. I mean, let's face it, sunscreen is a part of life. You've got to protect your skin. Look, melanoma is the worst. But when you have a kid who hates sunscreen, or you have a tactile sensory kid who can't handle the touching and that type of thing, sunscreen is a nightmare. I mean, trust me, I know there are parents out there right now who are saying, yes, putting sunscreen on my kid not only makes him cry, but makes me want to cry. So let's talk about ways that we can actually help get sunscreen on our kids, keep our kids safe from the sun, but also make sure that it's not a battle every time, because putting on sunscreen should be a daily thing, and it shouldn't have to be a battle where people just are freaking out left and right. So let me tell you a little bit about why this topic is important to me. So many of you know my son V-Man has sensory processing disorder. We've literally struggled and struggled and struggled with trying to get him to put on sunscreen. You know, he was a toddler. I mean, literally, you know, we're grappling with him. He's wrestling around. We're trying to get, you know, stuff on his face, on his body. And it was just a mess. I mean, as he got older, meaning, you know, pre-K, that type of thing, I mean, he would have tears rolling down his eyes. Just huge fat tears, because he was so upset about having to get sunscreen put on. So we finally said, this is ridiculous. We have to figure out a way to get our kid to wear sunscreen and just stop this battle, because literally I was in tears some days trying to get sunscreen on him before we went out. So I'm sorry, I'm looking at some of my notes here. So the first thing I would say about trying to get your kids to wear sunscreen is to set expectations. Now, that doesn't mean saying, you know, you will be wearing sunscreen. Take a totally different approach with your kid. Don't talk to them about it right before you're putting it on them. Why not talk about it at dinner the night before, talking about how beautiful the weather will be? And while we're out and about, we want to make sure we keep our skin safe and healthy. We talk a lot about being healthy in our family, and talking about how sunscreen, even though we may not like it, helps keep our bodies healthy. There's a big difference between saying, you know, you have to wear sunscreen so you don't get burned. Kids don't really understand those types of words. What they understand is, oh, I eat this so I can stay healthy. Oh, I do this so my body is healthy. Oh, I wear sunscreen so my skin stays healthy. It's not just about so I don't get burned and I'm uncomfortable, because that doesn't really matter to kids until after they're actually already burned. What does start to click is, oh, this is a way for me to keep myself healthy. And so, again, talk about it at different points. Maybe when you're going to bed, say, hey, tomorrow we're going to go do this great fun thing. We're going to go to the zoo, but we're going to have to put on sunscreen. I want you to understand that now. Remind them at breakfast. Remind them again. It's a great way to help kids kind of start to understand that. Okay, the second one is to say, skip the suntan lotion. Lotions are the worst. You know, you have to squeeze them on, you're rubbing them in. And for a kid who really hates being touched, who's tactile defensive, that can really be a mess. If you're wondering if your kid is tactile defensive, here are some clues. Does your child hate tags? Like the moment there's a tag in anything, it has to be cut out. Does your child not like cuddles and hugs because they don't like that feeling? Does your child, when you're playing outside, they don't like to get their hands dirty? That's a really early sign, because when kids are putting their hands and stuff, I know my youngest, I mean, he literally would like boop with his finger, and it was just too much. So that's how you know if your child is tactile defensive. So skip the suntan lotions. Instead, okay, see this, guys? It's a spray suntan. It's worth the money versus the tears, from my perspective. We like Copper Tone Sport, but if you have kids, buy a kid version. My kids are older at this point, and we love it. The one thing is, you cannot spray it in the house. Go outside. And two, if it's windy, be prepared, because, you know, if it's windy, it blows away. So, but we spray it on, do a quick rub to make sure it's taken care of. My kids have yet to get burned. We love this stuff. Okay. The other thing I would also highly, highly recommend is, if you guys don't know what this is, it's not deodorant. Okay, look. It's lotion. Oh my gosh. Is your mind blown yet? Okay. I didn't know about this for a while, and it just came out about, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, I want to say. It is Neutrogena. It is a facial stick. There are other sticks out there. This is the one that I found works the best. One, because it's a wider base versus some of them have small, like, little circles. At this point, my kid can put it on. You literally can get them on their face very quickly. My son will sit for it. He was so thrilled. I went and bought like a 12-pack. I'm not kidding you. They are everywhere, in my backpack, in my purse, wherever I am. This is with us because I know I can always get this on his face. I can get it on his neck, around his ears, all that kind of stuff. And he will not fight this. He is so happy when we discovered this. It was like a new kid. So if you don't have this, I would definitely check it out. I will say though that I am very allergy sensitive. If you have a child who has a lot of allergies, this may not be the right stick for you. For me, it bothers my eyes, but again, I am crazy sensitive with lotions, that type of thing. That's why people never see me or rarely see me wearing makeup, because my skin can't handle it. So just a heads up on that. The other thing I would recommend is talk about changing your child's shirt. Now, when my kids were little, kind of the sun shirts were just coming into vogue. Now, I mean, they're everywhere, and they're in every, you can get them with lobsters, you can get them with sailboats, you can get them with princesses. So just go out and buy the sunscreen shirts. You can get them cheap on Amazon. You can get them through Land's End has a great kids department that we personally really like, but those are great places to go get the shirts. Also, you can get them full long sleeve, and you get them short sleeve as well. One thing I will say, as much as we love the sunscreen shirts, when they get wet, if it's not a hot day, those things can make the kid feel really cool. So I don't know if parents always know that. I sometimes see kids shivering in their sun shirts, and I don't know if the parents recognize that how cold those shirts can actually keep you. So just be heads up on that. But the sun shirts are great. Your kids can pick out the designs. I do say though, is when you buy a sunscreen shirt, they are not all created equal. Some of them don't have the sun protection you would expect. I know, it's just not regulated. So before you go buy that sunscreen shirt, make sure that it has the SPF that you want, because some only have 5 or 10 SPF, which really is not great. So look for one that has a higher SPF, and it should be listed with the shirt, or when you purchase it online, it should be listed. The other thing I would recommend is try a hat. Now, look, I have sensory kids. Hats were just not going to happen. But at this point, they shock me. Their dad took them to Six Flags a couple weeks ago while I was traveling, and they came home with Six Flags hats, and they've been wearing them since they got home. So sometimes there has to be an incentive, like Batman Six Flags or something like that. But get your kids buy-in for the sun hats. I would really recommend trying different hats, and don't just show up with a hat for your child. Take your child with you, or look online with your child to figure out what will be agreeable. Also, negotiate with your child. Look, we can go do this, but I need you to be willing to put on your face stick. I need you to be willing to wear a hat if they need to wear a hat. Talk to your child. Even if your child is 2, they understand a lot more than you think they do. So be willing to talk to your child and get your child's buy-in, which is actually my last point, is to include your child in the decisions. Ask your child what they need. Give them options. Again, even when you're dealing with a toddler, look, if it's in the moment, you're not going to get any help from your kiddo. But if you're at dinner and you say, hey, look, we found this new sunscreen that just sprays on. What do you think about that? Or, hey, you know, we know that you hate the lotion, so let's talk about what other options we have. Get your kids buy-in. I'm always surprised at how many parents don't think about talking to their kiddos and including them in the discussion. Kids want to feel empowered. They want to feel part of it. And by saying, these are your options, why don't you participate with me, you really would be surprised at the buy-in. And then also when it comes to putting it on, you can say, hey, we talked about this. You agreed with me, so you got to work with me here. And for my kids, they really understood that because I included them and they were part of the solution, then they were willing to go with the solution. They still don't love sunscreen, but they're 7 and 9 now, and when I say, time for sunscreen, they run outside onto our deck, I can spray them down, I give them the face stick, they do the face stick themselves. There's no fighting, no battles, and no tears. And trust me, we spend a lot of days with tears with sunscreen. So I really hope that these ideas help you. Down below, leave me a comment, ask me a question. I'm happy to share my own personal experience or other tips. And I hope that everyone has a happy and safe summer and no burns. I'll keep my fingers crossed for you.